everyone. Can I just double check that you can see my screen? If anyone could just confirm. Oh, yep. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, David. All right. So I think maybe we'll just give a minute or so for other people to join, and we will start shortly. All right, let's start. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. In today's webinar, we would like to discuss how successfully launch a lead nurturing automation program that hopefully will deliver the results you are after. I hope you will find that it's not as complicated or scary, scary as it sounds to set up and launch an automation program, especially if you're already using lead scoring. Segmenting your list based on behavior or interest, like content a lead is engaging with, or profile segmentation, like job titles or industry or company sizes. Before we start, a few housekeeping items. Feel free to ask any question in a chat or in the Zoom Q&A sections. I will try to answer them at the end after the presentation. On Friday, we will send out the on-demand replay, as well as the link to registration page to workshops, which I'm going to mention throughout the presentation, and also we will have them at the end of the slide deck. The registration for our next Power Up webinar, which is called the Lead Scoring, will begin on Friday as well. So again, this webinar will be run on 21st of June, just for your information. So let me introduce myself. My name is Tatiana Lea, and I am a Customer Outcome Manager here at Acton. I am based in United Kingdom, in a town called Reading, which is about 40 miles from London. Another interesting fact about Reading is we now appear on London Metro map as a starting point for our new Elizabeth line. And I joined Acton about just over 8 years ago to really help marketeers like myself to successfully implement and adopt a marketing automation tool. Just to give you an idea how involved I am with clients and the platform, currently I'm working with a client who is looking to implement multiple scoring rules to get better at identifying hot or marketing qualified prospects that are not only highly engaged, but are also meeting required profile or demographic characteristics like company size and specific job roles. On the subject of nurturing, I'm assisting a client who manufactures and sells products to electricians, and we are working on setting up a cross-selling nurturing program where they are looking to increase awareness of certain product categories. So what are we looking to cover today? I would like to start with a definition of what lead nurturing is, probably why should we be using marketing automation tools, since I hope most of you know what the marketing automation tool is, really dive into how and where we would use lead nurturing and at what stages in the buying process. There are a lot of components of a successful lead nurturing programs, but I have identified 6 which I would like to mention in a chat about. And I will conclude with some examples, 2 of them actually, not a huge details. For that, we're actually going to run on Tuesday, 6th of June, I will be running a workshop, Automation 101. So I would really like to invite you guys to join that one as well. As I mentioned, the registration will be open very shortly, and we will send all the details when we send the slide deck on Friday. So let's start with definition of nurturing. According to Oxford Dictionary, it means to care for, look after, someone or something while they're growing. So really a good lead nurturing program aims to show that you as a company care about your prospects. You are focusing on growing and nurturing, that relationship between your prospects and your brand. Another differentiator is that rather than looking at demand gen, I mean, if that happens, obviously it's great, but a lead nurturing program focuses on prospects that are really here. They're already in your pipeline, but they're not ready to buy or convinced that they should. It is one of the key principles of nurture campaign. Instead of selling, you are conversing. So your prospects is already engaging with your brand. So remember that your communication should be more personal and less sales-like. The campaign strategy should focus on staying relevant to your potential customers by offering that information they can use to guide them to make that purchasing decision. An example of this marketing campaign would be, let's say a person visits a fitness website, they browse different sections and find this diet section. Then the lead generates an alert, and then say 10 days later, we're sending this email about this specific webinar on that dietary plan, and the lead watches that webinar, which promotes another email guiding them to a page on the website which offers a fantastic meal plan. So there is no really call to action here, nor is there any sense of urgency with this type of marketing campaign. So it is really a dialogue between consumer and the brand, where the brand is saying, hey, let's see if we can accommodate what you're looking for. And this is where the nurturing comes from. So as you are guiding someone along the road to conversion, without explicitly them knowing it, of course, unless you are a marketeer. So we want to automate the send of these nurturing campaigns. And this is where marketing automation tool comes in place. So as I said, we hope that everyone knows what marketing automation tool is, but what we really want to talk about is the why. And there are a lot of whys, of course, but I want to concentrate on these three. So number one is efficiency. Really want to streamline the process, making sure that we can communicate effectively with our prospects and customers. We want to deliver a great personalized experience. An example I mentioned in the last slide, I do not want to get a wrong dietary plan. If, say, I'm a vegetarian, I get a meal plan with the meat products, not a great story here. Of course, the other why is that we want to generate better results from our marketing activity and spend, and really provide a higher result outcomes from what we're already doing, and help ourselves focus more on what works and delivers that return on investment. And number three, the holy grail, is to improve that marketing and sales alignment, making sure that we have that way of alerting sales, our sales of prospects that are ready to engage with sales with that team on one-to-one. But at the same time, have a feedback loop with sales to give them give them intelligence back. So again, as I've mentioned, we do have a workshop specifically on building nurturing programs for return to marketing. And this is happening on 13th of June. And again, we will send all the information later on. So where in the customer life cycle would you use or should you use automation? Well, the answer is it can be used anywhere at any of the stages of the whole, life cycle of client. However, what we are going to concentrate today is the actual nurturing between these two stages, between prospecting stage and marketing qualified. Additionally, I also wanted to make sure that when we talk about communication, especially in regards to email, we're clear on definition of type of automated emails we're referring in this webinar. Of course, all of these emails we're seeing on the left-hand side under the one-off email can be automated. So say, for example, confirmation email is an automated, programmed into the submission of the form. We can, for example, schedule and automate event invitation, etc. But when we're talking about automated nurturing campaigns, we're really talking about communication that is scheduled. Yes, it's automated, yes, but content and communication sent is influenced by context behavior, what they're doing, their action. So a bit of a history here, an interesting fact I found out when I was preparing the content for this webinar. Did you know that the sales funnel has been has been a cornerstone of marketing strategy for over a century? So the sales funnel initially was developed by this chap called Elias and Elmos Lewis in 1989. And he was an American advertising advocate, and he was the founder of original AIDA concept. So it's not the area if you're into music. It's the idea that you have awareness stage, interest, design, action. And this model kind of says that, you've got the series of stages or steps that customers would, follow when they're making that purchasing decision. So where do I think the lead nurturing fits in this funnel? So remember that we said that at the very beginning of the webinar, we are focusing on the prospects that already here, they're in your funnel, but they're obviously not ready to purchase. And really the campaign here is to stay relevant by offering them information that actually helps them towards that end decision. So for that reason, I think your nurturing campaign can be done successfully at those 3 stages in red. The consideration itself, when we're looking at product engagement, the intent when the demo is gone out, the free trials being offered, and the evaluation where the prospects decide whether they need to, that product and services, and they're making that decision. I think it's also, again, worth mentioning that the stage, this model, of course, it's not very linear, right? We would love it to be, but that's not true story here. So, the stage 6 is, yes, it's sales, but they, it could be potentially somebody could return back to marketing funnel. And we need to make sure that we do have some kind of mechanism where we're nurturing those people as well. So again, as I said, there is a workshop on 13th of June, which again, would be really, really useful if you have got that, or if you're interested in setting up some kind of nurturing process for the return to marketing. So we talked about what nurturing is, what differences are between one-off email versus the nurturing email, where in the funnel nurturing would be a perfect fit. Now let's have a look at those 6 components of lead nurturing program I mentioned in our agenda. So, okay, on a side note, of course, this is not the extended list of components. There are many more, but I believe these are important based on my experience working with clients. So when I'm working with clients, I often come across this one as one of the main reasons why campaigns are not successful. Your goal really should be the first thing you think about when you're developing that lead nurturing campaign. As far as your goals go, you should make sure that you're able to measure your progress with defined outcomes. Again, there are a multitude of goals, but I think these 3 are pretty good for nurturing and really good to mention it. Number of reopen leads. You might have all the leads that are not really engaging, but recently have shown some interest. An example, I have this client, I'm literally just set this program with them 2 weeks ago, who are looking to, they have a bunch of records or a bunch of, contacts who haven't really been engaged in the last 2 years and recently visited a specific page or website page. So we set up a nurturing campaign for them to warm them back up and alert sales owner. Another one is change of lead score on leads. Again, a very great one for nurturing. It is often the goal of nurturing campaigns. And we want to identify, prospects that have changes in their lead score. Again, I have a client, it's actually the same client. We've set up, created nurturing programs along with Acton funnel reporting feature. So what we've done, we've created 3 nurturing programs based on scoring ranges, and at the same time set up a funnel reports that are showing us the progression. So we can have a look how those leads are changing, month by month, from stage to stage, quarterly, from one quarter to another quarter. And the last one, but not the least, is again a great metric or goal to have, is to achieve a number of marketing qualified leads or MQLs, or maybe a certain number of demo requests, or whatever that high value conversation asset may be. So again, another client of mine, is nurturing prospects who are not in their CRM. And then, once they reach that marketing qualified threshold, via the automation program, we physically creating them in Microsoft Dynamics CRM as a new leads by adding them to a marketing Microsoft Dynamics marketing list inside the CRM, updating a field topic with specific value, and we also alerting marketing user. So in Acton, we have this concept of right content at the right time, number 2, right? So let's break this into, our funnel into individual stages. This is the part where we're addressing our prospects and converting them from potential maybes to qualified leads. I'm not going to cover all the stages in details, but I would like to concentrate on interest and consideration. So at interest stage, your customers know who you are, how they might benefit from your services, but not yet convinced that you are the best option, which is why nurturing them through this stage is so important. Providing your prospects with relevant content based on their specific pain points, hopefully will reassure them that you have, the best interest in mind to really provide them with this knowledge and tools that, help them to make that decision. The consideration, so at this stage, your content really should be structured to motivate your prospects to take actions. Usually, setting an appointment with your sales, hopefully, choosing to do that business with you. Success story, really, really good there, often serve as a really good asset, to provide that company values and, the actual worth of that product and service. So the next component is, have I got the right person? It's really hard to be effective, with the content when you're not sure who you're creating it for. That is where the prospect, persona comes in. A persona is like a model you create, to help kind of flesh out things and really identify the best, the best prospect, I guess. It is usually like semi-functional representation of your ideal customers. Again, it could include demographic profiles like age, household, income, interest, education, etc. Maybe it's industry, maybe it's their professional role, the challenges, the pain points, the needs they have, maybe behavior, the actual buyer behavior, and more. So depending on the service and products it uses, you're really likely to develop and target more than one persona or maybe one role. So again, take this, either the persona or the role, whatever that actual definition suits your business model. Along the best practices for nurturing leads, is segmentation by each phase in the buyer journey, or by industry, or phase and job title, or all 3. So it could be a combination of any of those. So again, as you think about your target audience, you want to ask these 3 questions. What would cause your prospect to need a particular solution? How will this solution help them exactly? And we might want to spell it out. And why might a particular option be better than another? And one of the other things we always need to remember when we're thinking about it, there is also option of doing nothing as well. We as a marketeer has to contemplate. So then what I've done here, I've put this slide to show that content and persona must really come together to make sure that we are providing that relevant information to the right person, at the right time. So here we have a 3 fictional personas. In Acton, we call them decision maker, influencer, and user. And if you take, for example, decision maker and the user at any stages of this journey, this funnel, what I think is that outcome-based content probably would be more useful for decision makers, and then how-to content would be useful for the end user, because they're different personas, they have different needs, they have different pain points. So remember those leads that were dormant for the last 2 years, that client who had a dormant leads for 2 years and suddenly they just came to a specific web page. So I think it's really important to understand the level of interest the prospects are showing. There is a difference between a lead that just landed on your page and then bounced off versus the one actually interacts with your brand and remained engaged. So the level of interest directly affects what you should be communicating to your prospects and when you're going to do so. It is perhaps the most important part of lead scoring, winning lead nurturing itself. Again, just to remind, we are doing the Power Up on 21st of June, and it's going to be concentrating exactly on setting up that lead scoring model if you don't have it. The idea here is really to nurture prospects, to take action that would be driving their lead score changes. Because remember, that goal changes of the lead scoring because they are visiting your website, because they're submitting your form, clicking on those emails you're sending, etc. So what's next? Well, the fifth component of here is really nurturing campaign timeline. Not everything grows at the same time. Even plants don't grow, at the same time. Depends on where they are. You planted them in a garden. So how do we structure nurturing to accommodate this? Think about how your prospect would be making that purchasing decision, how long the buying cycle would be, and who is this decision maker. A campaign that is expected to span 6 to 12 months will have a different rhythm, they'll have different cadence than a campaign which we're running for 4 to 6 weeks. Again, do not forget to have this early exit in your campaign or some kind of exit based on goals, on the goals you've set up. It could be a list from your CRM of people who have done X, Y, and Z, or a segment of people who have achieved that conversion. And number 6, which is the lastly, you want to make sure you track your content performance so you can make an adjustment and see which improvements influence that change. This is a really nice example. One of my clients who is a software provider for schools here in the UK, she's using the same call to action, request for demo, but she's using unique URL functionality on her Acton page where her demo request form is embedded to track which call to action delivers higher conversions, in this case, clicks on email and submission of the form. She uses different verbatim to see which words resonate better with her audience. Another tactic to use, we actually use it ourselves in Acton, is to implement A/B send of emails in our nurturing automation programs, which is a nice segue to show you one actually. So I think it's worth mentioning that this specific workflow, you can find this in our catalog. So if you go to content and catalog in our platform, we do have a template of this workflow where we are using a flow of sending email, waiting. If the email was not open and clicked, we then are resending the same email with a different subject line. We wait 1 week, and then afterwards, rather than pushing people out of this program because they haven't reached the goal, we're going to move them to this send email too. Obviously, in a step A3, if anyone has clicked on that email in a step A1, will then receive a week later email from a step A4. So the A/B split here, what we're going to do, instead of just sending a box standard email here, we're actually using what we called A/B test email send. And we are creating 2 different emails, most likely with a 2 different subject line to see which one resonates. And because it's a nurturing program, so people will drop into, because remember we talked about that they, based on actions, they've done something, maybe their score has increased, maybe they have visited a specific page, maybe they suddenly came back to our website. They're going to drop into our source of this program, and we're going to send them one of those versions. So the way how A/B testing will work here is that once we get to 100 clicks, so you obviously need to get at least 100 clicks here, I think that's a minimum, we then will identify which subject line or which email was the most successful, and then going forward, we will be sending only that email to any other people who are entering this automated program. So it's a really nice alternative. If you are in our platform, we do have a separate A/B test send. This is another way to implementing the A/B in a nurturing program inside the automation itself. A second one is score-based lead nurturing automation. As you can see, the flow is completely different. The flow is exactly the same, but who is going to enter those programs, of course, would be different people, and the messages will be different, aligned with where they are in the funnel, what type of content, what type of pain points they have, who they are in terms of a role responsibilities. And again, this flow could contain 2 messages, it could contain 3, it could contain 5. Again, just remember that you want to exit for, you know, meeting that goals, whether that's exit built in or early exit itself. And just as I've mentioned throughout the whole presentation, we do have these 3 events happening, 2 workshops. The workshop on 6th of June, I will be actually doing it myself. So we will be jumping into platform and actually diving into building one of the nurturing programs. We do have on Tuesday, 13th, a workshop, Build the Return to Marketing Nurturing Program. And then we have a follow-up on 21st of June to go through the setting up lead scoring. So I think now I'm just going to put my video back. And I would like to ask if you guys have got any questions. Let's see. Please add any questions or into your notes. No, sorry, into the chat or Q&A section of the Zoom. Just checking if we have anything. All right, I have a question here. What should I do if I have launched my lead nurturing series and I'm not reaching my goal? Should I change my goal or should I change my nurturing series? I think my answer here would be to really truly identify, really diagnose what is not working. I would definitely say, let's have a look at the list. Let's have a look at the content. Let's have a look at an engagement of that list, see where they are, is it actually aligned? And understand the goal itself, because potentially what could happen, you either have got misalignment between the content and who you're targeting, maybe the actual call to action is just too ambitious, you know. So again, we can definitely, I think you have to understand what is going, what's going wrong with all these different elements before actually deciding whether we're going to change and actually create a new nurturing series. Another question here I have is, do you recommend using a funnel report for my nurture series? That is actually one of the things when I used to onboard clients and when we would do a nurturing program, I would say, let's set up funnel reporting straight away. So you can then identify and understand how your leads are progressing from one stage to another one. And then we can also understand give the reporting back at the end of the quarter and the end of the month. All right, I think, let's just double check. There's one last one, I think. In an automated program, can we dictate what email they get next based on specifically what they click in an email, or does it, okay, that's a very good, or does it branch off based on if they click or did not click, not specifically what they clicked on? Right. You're absolutely spot on here. The flow I've showed you, it's literally just looking at a click without differentiating which click, but we can build, and this would be done for the segmentation. So we can do the segmentation, identify the destination, and when we're building nurturing program, we can say if they are in this segment, i.e. they have achieved that goal of clicking and landing there, then we can then do the next set of actions. All right, I think that was the last question. We do need to wrap up. Just want to say thank you very much again for everyone's attention. Thank you for joining us. And I hope to see you soon.